Good morning, dear Sangha. Can you hear me in the back? The guided meditation is very soothing. I look when I see some of you is very dreamy. Dolivo is a very small village, and our mayor, from time to time, he would come and he would share something with us. So one day he came and he said, "You know, your community is, I'm very pleased with your community. You obey the law, you pay the taxes. You are many, but you teach people to be quiet. I'm very impressed." But then only one thing that I'm not very pleased. He said, "There's one thing that I'm not very pleased, not because of the children's crying. I'm not very pleased because you don't give birth. You see the elementary school, the nursery, they're all closed. No children." So we're a little bit speechless. Biologically, we don't give birth, but spiritually, we do. As you see, our teacher, he's not physically around with us, but his continuation you can see in the young monastics. We have people come in, join us, and also children, teenagers, young adults, families, couples, teachers, healthcare professionals, all kinds of people who come and practice with us. And so in many ways, we do give birth to many kind of people. So there is a continuation in the lineage of our tradition. Recently, I listened to the messages of the Pope in the what he called the Encyclical Magnificat Humanitas. And he wants that digital economy and AI systems are creating a new forms of slavery that threaten threaten human dignity. So we're talking about a form of digital slavery. So you can watch this on YouTube, or you can search Google and you can read this message. So in Buddhism, we have something we call, we have the teaching from the Buddha to help us to recognize. Actually, it's the teaching of the psychology of craving from the Buddhist perspective. So today, we don't have a lot of time, but we can have little time to explore together a little bit to see how we can confront, or how we can. It's on our website. We can really see that how we can each contribute to the shift in collective consciousness with our way of living, and how mindfulness gives us more agency to go against the stream And so in this retreat, we will explore the 5 mindfulness trainings and the 14 mindfulness trainings as the path to resistance, as the path of resistance to our society, which is overloaded with discrimination, violence, craving. So let's take a look at what the Buddha taught us. The rain is very gentle. As you really see, the trees and the grass, they're very happy. So let the Dharma rains penetrate each cell of our body so that we can revive ourselves. It must be a long period of preparation, arranging our family, our business, our work in order to come here for 1 week or 3 weeks. It is really a joy to have so many people come from so many different countries to come here and be together for this week and the next 2 weeks. So it's getting a little bit stronger. So as we look at the teaching of the Buddha, somehow we call it as an unconscious loop. So from the beginning, at the contact, when we talk about contact, we talk about our senses, and also the object of our senses. Yeah? So when we look at something, there must be something to look at, and then it will give rise to the eye consciousness. And so that image or that sound or that smell will fall into our store consciousness as a seed. If we see, we hear, we smell every day. And so it will become a seed in our consciousness. And so contact is something that happens all the time. every day. When our senses, we open our senses to the world outside of ourselves, and we let in messages, news, informations, all kinds of things. And as our senses get in touch with the senses object, it will give rise to sense consciousness. And because of that, it will have feelings. And so feeling is something that very subtle to recognize. It can be very, very soft, very gentle, but it can be very strong for us to recognize. And then because of feeling, there is craving. If it's a very good feeling, very pleasant feeling, then we want to have more. But if it's not so much a pleasant feeling, then we tend to change mood, or we want to substitute, we want to find something else. That it can really help us to have that kind of pleasant feeling. So it can be pleasant feeling, it can be neutral, it can be unpleasant feeling. Because of craving, then there's a grasping. Yeah? Something that we like, we want to have more. Something we don't like, we tend to reject. Yeah? And the becoming, we identify ourselves with things. And so this is, in Buddhist, we call it, actually, this is something that we learn when we enter the monastery. This is something that we have to learn right away. That when our sense is in contact with the object of our senses, we have to practice mindfulness. So that is a first layer of protection. So if we let our senses be exposed to objects around us, or in the monastery, since you arrive, it's not a lot of things that just stimulate you. It's very different with when you are at home, with the internet, with news, cable channels, that you constantly be exposed to informations and many, many other things, media. And so this is the first step, the first layer of protection that we learn to protect ourselves. So most of the time when our senses in contact with the object of our senses, if we don't have any kind of awareness, it will happen very constantly, and it will become a kind of habitual that we can let things get into our consciousness indiscriminately. And so, because we talk about the path of resistance, if we continue with the way of living, with the trend of society, we would not have any kind of protection. So in the teachings of the Buddha, the first layer of protection is contact. And so when our senses get in touch with our object of our senses, we have to practice mindfulness. When we talk about feelings, we also, because without the practice of mindfulness, we're not aware of our body, the senses, then we are not able to be in touch with our feelings. And so the contact is something that is very, very important at the beginning. And then we talk about craving. This is, in Buddhist teaching, craving is a kind of automatic loop. From craving, from feelings to craving, and then become habits. It is a kind of automatic loop. A number of years ago, we have a very young man who addicted to games. And his family is very concerned because he didn't work. Whole day he would spend time playing games. And so his family brought him to one of our centers to stay for 3 months. And so every day he had to follow the schedule. He have to get up to do the sitting, because the requirement for him to stay at the monastery is that he have to follow the schedule. So that is the primary requirement. If he cannot follow, he cannot stay. And he's in his father is kind of like in desperate situation, and so he's kind of like a second body to his son to stay whole 3 months also, to accompany him. And so he followed the schedule and everything. And after 3 months, he looked very different. We can tell that the vitality is in his eyes. Feel like he have more energy and more alive. And he went home, and after some reflection, he came back and he asked to ordain. Which I find that is very rare, that somebody, not only that he can heal himself, but also he aspires to walk on this path and to help also other people that also have this kind of addiction. And when we talk about feeling and craving, gaming is something that is very addictive. And gaming is only one. There's many other things. There's many other things that people are so addicted to. Can we name something? Social media.
Scrolling.
Yes.
Chocolate.
Oh.
Mobile phones.
Yeah. And pornography. That is a real problem of so many young and not so young people. Once they walk onto this path, it seems like no point of turnaround. It's so difficult. So many people ask for help, looking for way to heal themselves and to support themselves. And so we can really see the beginning of the contact. When we get in contact with all the images and sounds without any layer of protection, that we get ourselves into deep trouble or suffering. So craving is a very conditional. It arises from causes. So craving is not really a moral weakness. So we don't, like many young people, when they come here and they have some kind of addiction, and sometimes they feel very shameful about this. But we share with them the daily practice, the collective energy of the Sangha, so that they can walk on different paths, learn to be aware, and learn to build that kind of protection, layer of protection for themselves. The path of resistance begins with the practice of mindfulness. Because craving in Buddhist teaching is about self-propelling. So if one object disappears, it's very natural, it will find another object and attach to it. That is the nature of our mind. And so that's how we call it, in neuroscience, they call it dopamine-based reinforcement loop. So we look into what triggers ourselves. We can really see loneliness, boredom. What else? Fatigue, exactly. aversion, and many, many others. And so what are the behaviors that arises from the triggers that we just mentioned? Scrolling. Yeah, somebody say endless scrolling, constant stimulation. Do you feel the pressure to consume? We have to wear this brain in order to look smart. We have to wear this device in order to look cool. Yeah, you feel that constantly. We feel the pressure to consume. And what are the rewards? It's a dopamine hit, right? Like those who addict to game. They can spend pretty much whole day playing game without eating and sleeping. And so you can really feel the dopamine in their body, very high. And our brain will get used to this. You know, the brain have the power to reinforce the neural pathway. And it's kind of like waiting for the reward. And for a long term, the brain kind of like anticipate the rewards, a dopamine prediction. You know, if you do something and it constantly doing it for over a long period of time, it will reinforce in our brain. And that's how scientists call it a dopamine-based reinforcement cycle. And without any kind of awareness, we sink into addiction, we sink into depression. And that is a really problem of so many young and not so young people. You know, not long ago before the smartphone, and not too long ago before the human restlessness, in Plum Village, there's a little boy. His name is Johnny, and he loves shiny things. So one day, a merchant came to the village and advertised this kind of magic lantern. And so Johnny was so attracted to this kind of lantern, and so he got one. And so this lantern is very magical, and you need to just to touch it. It lights up very brightly, and there's images and stories. And soon after that, Johnny would go around with that lantern. And so talking to friends or playing with his dog is no longer something that he would enjoy. But whenever he feels bored or don't know what to do with himself, he would touch that lantern, the magic lantern, and there will be story telling him things, all kinds of things. And so one day there is a little nun, because it's in Dalivo, there is a village they call Plum Village, with those little people, petite people. I'm very careful not saying small, but petite size nuns walking around. And Johnny used to be very fascinated with the people from all over the world descended on his village. Because he saw people, you know, coming with luggages, children, teenagers, and they look confused when they arrive. But then after 1 week of staying in that little village, people look very different when they go home. And so Johnny used to very amazed looking at these people. But since he got his lantern, he forget all these people. And so one day, a nun came and sat next to him and say, "Oh, Johnny, your lantern is very bright." And it started using you. And so Johnny blink. "But I am the one holding it." And so the nun said, "Hold this." So the nun gave him a little pebble. And she said, "How do you feel?" And he said that, oh, it's very cool and it's very smooth. And then see, close your eyes and see how you feel in your body when you hold this pebble. And so Johnny, for the first time, come back to his senses and felt that, wow, actually it's very quiet here. It's actually very peaceful here. And maybe for the first time he realized that how much the lantern pulled him away from himself. And then the nun said, well, when your mind is calm, you choose what to look at. But when your mind is restless, the lantern will choose for you. And so Johnny thought about that. And then the next day, he kind of like put that lantern on the shelf and not to use it so much and go now and play with his friends. So we all have that lantern in our pocket. They used to say, this kind of device, if we have the power of awareness, of mindfulness, we choose to use it, when to use it. But when we don't have any kind of awareness, it is using us. It's very obvious. And so in this retreat, we will learn to come back to ourselves, to build this layer of protection, and to have a new habit of coming back to ourselves. So we will begin with, this morning we already have the walking meditation. Walking meditation is a wonderful form of practice that can help us to relax and to balance ourselves. When we feel that emotionally we are triggered, we can think of walking to calm ourselves down, to learn to shift that kind of emotional weight on our brain to our physical body when we walk. Many times when I walk, I don't have any intention to think of the Dharma Talk. But when I walk, I just, follow my breathing and my footstep, and then it will come up something. And that's how Thầy said that, you don't think about your Dharma Talk. You just walk in that moment and fully be present in that moment. And so when I'm fully present in that moment, I find that balance in myself. I don't feel that anxiety in my brain, in my mind that, oh, what should I talk about? But I feel that I can balance my footstep and have my body and my mind balanced. And many other stressful situations, when I feel that I don't really have a clue, I don't really have the answer, then I just let go and I go for a walk. And when I walk, I don't think about it. Very natural. I feel that sense of ease and relaxation in my body. And I can really feel that my mind calmed down so much. And so this is a tool that we can bring home. Many people, they take this practice home, and in the morning they need to commute to work or to go somewhere for like a short distance from your house to the bus station or the metro or to the car park or wherever. You can practice that. And so we cannot say that I don't have time for meditation. Some of us are volunteers, you come here for a few days, you really see our schedule of the day. We don't really have 2 hours of sitting meditation. But there is a wisdom in the schedule of the Sangha that really help us to moderate ourselves. Those of us who tend to talk a lot, we will learn to be silent. That's how the mayor is very impressed. Or things that, we don't like to do a lot of physical work, but here we don't have a lot of mental work. So we have to do physical work. And so throughout the day with the schedule, it helps us to moderate ourselves. There's time for silence, for reflection. It is so inviting for us because the environment is so peaceful and quiet. It's so inviting for us, very natural to come back and kind of reflect. And actually when we are away from home, because when we live in our house, the furniture, the sofa, the living room, the kitchen, it's so familiar and it can trigger many memories. It can be pleasant memory, but it can also be unpleasant memory. But so when we come to a practice center, it's totally different setting with very less furniture, less things in the building, but we have more trees, we have more nature. And so very natural, the mind will find that kind of space from nature and that space from within. And so after a few days, we feel lighter. And with each passing day, we feel lighter and lighter because we are able to let go and kind of like empty that so that we have more space from within. So this morning we have the sitting meditation and guided meditation. Many of us are very new to meditation, and it's very challenging to stay awake in meditation because it's so quiet and so peaceful, and so it's very natural that we feel very sleepy or we feel very bored. This is exactly an invitation for us to look into our daily life. Do we have any silent times in our day so that we can listen to ourselves? Or constantly, our senses in contact with all kinds of objects of our senses. And it's all kinds of stimulation going on. And all kinds of scrolling that don't leave us any empty space or don't give us any empty time that we can sit with ourselves. And so when we go into the meditation, it is the best time for us to be ourselves, to be a free person, like Thầy used to say. You are a free person in the sitting meditation. Because in that time, you can be who you are. And nobody will tell you what to do, or how to be. But sadly, many of us in meditation, because we're so fatigued, or maybe there's no space from within. So as soon as we sit down, we just cannot help ourselves. Because the minds have been stimulated every day. And so without stimulation, it is very boring. So teaching mindfulness and meditation is something that is very, very challenging. So sitting meditation is the best time for us to cultivate mindfulness and awareness. Because in the sitting, our senses are very calm. Our senses are not disturbed by all the noises and images around us, but it is very calm. And you know what? Something is always there for us, ever present for us. It's our breathing. It's always there. But as soon as we feel our breathing, we feel that this is so normal. There's nothing can stimulate us. The breathing is something that's not something that can stimulate us. And so for a little while, we feel very dull. But sitting meditation is something that is very interesting if we choose how to spend our time. We used to say that, oh, I forget. Many things I forget, I don't remember. But when we sit in meditation and we learn to focus our mind with our breathing, and we train our mind every day, you will be amazed of your stored consciousness. It will pull something that buried deep inside for like 20, 30 years. Like one morning in the sitting, the image of the Sangha chanting before the Dharma Talk, and I was sitting at the bell, and I came up and I came behind because I want to hide myself. There's always a kind of, I don't know what you call. That day I feel like I don't want to be in front, I want to be in the back. And I was standing in the back, and suddenly I heard a very gentle voice, Sister Thuan N, come to the front. It's come from Thai. He didn't look. When I came up, I saw that he didn't look at me. He was at the bell. He didn't look. But because he's so concentrated that he felt my footstep and he felt my energy that I want to hide myself. It is amazing, of his energy. I'm so amazed so many times. And I felt red. And so, what next thing, what do I do? I push another sister to the front. It's very unconscious. My behavior is like very unconscious. It's automatic like that. Earlier we talked about the unconscious loop. And that in that meditation that morning, the whole image is coming up. And it's like 20 years ago. In a normal time or normal day, if I'm engaged with somebody or if I'm doing something, that image would not come up in my mind. But because in the sitting, it is so quiet with the Sangha, and so that image came up. And so meditation is the path of going back and see myself and see ourselves clearly. This is the hardest thing in living together. Because when we live together, we see other people very clearly. But we don't see ourselves. Is that right? That's how we have complaint. So meditation is the best tools to help us to see ourselves. And this is something we need to train ourselves every day. But you know why we have to get up at 5? Well, now 5:30. But we used to get up at 5. And then we go to the meditation hall. Some lay people say, why you get up so early? At home I don't get up at 5 like that. And they say, why? I want to know why you have to get up early. And you know why? So we can come here and sleep again. It's very simple like that. That means that if we sleep in meditation, that means that it may be the habit already. That we cannot keep ourselves awake in meditation. Or the body is sending us a very clear message that it is exhausting. But we don't stop, we keep going. Do you know the advertising of the battery, energized battery? The rabbit drumming, keep going. We are that kind of rabbit. We really push our body. We push until we feel exhausted. And so without a normal schedule, like the monastery, we will push ourselves and we keep going. And that's how in the meditation it's very difficult to stay awake. But if we know how to moderate ourselves, like this week we learned to moderate ourselves, we will find that there's a moment of wakefulness in meditation. And amazingly, there is a glimpse of ourselves in the meditation. Because when we are awake and when we are calm, the mind is very calm and clear, it can reflect. And we can, there's a moment like the window like open for like a few seconds that we can look into ourselves. And we see there's so many things like crowded in there, trying to telling us. So many voices at the same time. And so meditation is about listening to ourselves. And so many people say, oh, I don't know how to listen to other people, how to listen deeply. If we don't have the habit of listening to ourselves, there is no way we can listen to others. And so meditation is a gift that we must give ourselves. It's a very, I don't want to say luxury, but I want to say very precious gift that we give ourselves. Because in that meditation, we can discover ourselves. We discover our strength, but also our habits. If we have that quiet time and calm time every morning before we start our work, our day, we have that kind of reinforcement, that layer of protection that we build up, that when we are aware of our senses, when we are in contact with our sense object, we have that awareness to choose what to pay attention to. This is exactly the teaching of the Buddha, appropriate attention when we talk about contact. That means we choose intentionally, we choose what to look at, like Johnny. When our mind is very calm, we choose what to look at. But when it is restless, after scrolling for many hours, there is no space for clarity. And randomly, we will look at anything. And we can spend many hours on the phone, on computer. Luckily, here we don't have public internet. But we have trees. We have rains. We have grass to help us to come back to our senses. And another function of meditation is mindfulness is, of course we know opposite of mindfulness is forgetfulness, right? So many teenagers and also children, they come here every summer and they say, you know what, I don't know maybe I have a hole in my brain because I'm keep forgetting things. I don't know how to help myself. I go to the dining hall, I want to drink, I get a cup, and I drink. And after drinking, I don't remember where I put my cup. Or I have my lunch with my friends, and after eating, I don't know where's my bowls. Or going to the meditation, I have my jacket. But when I do the walking outside, where is my jacket? Can you help me to remember my personal belongings? Because I keep losing them. And this is a very obvious sign of forgetfulness. That means that our mind is not with the object of our mind is not with our belonging, or our mind is not with us. We are talking to someone, then right after that, our mind jumps to something else. And so our belonging is everywhere. After each retreat, we have a whole courtyard. We lay out all the left behind belonging. And from time to time, we have people email us asking us to keep these items for them to come back next year. So after this retreat, if you go home without losing any one of your belonging, you are successful. In training your mind, in increasing your mindfulness. So hopefully after 1 week in the retreat, we can rearrange our time when we go home, so we can go to bed early, not midnight or 1, but early enough for us to wake up early in the morning. Actually, the real reason for us to wake up early in the morning because of the quietness, of the tranquility of the environment. So we have to make the best out of it. Because when the sun shines or when the sun rises, all kinds of noise and things that we have to do. And so we will not have that kind of stillness. It's like 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning. Yeah? So now we know why we have to get up early. Yeah? We just need to rearrange our life a little bit. And then we have more windows open to us. And then we have more space. And we have more stillness and more space. It's all about rearranging. Like if you have a room full of things, you remove some of them, then you have some space. When we offer retreats, people coming here, we offer the very basic facilities to the minimum, the very basic one. But we offer you a lot of space. And so hopefully when you go home, you can also rearrange your house. Because meditation is a really, really it's really a medicine. It's a really self-help time that we can help ourselves. Because each one of us, we are very occupied with whatever we have to. Making a living, or raising a family, or building a community. There is endless tasks for us to do. Many people ask us, you do retreat after retreat year round. Don't you ever feel bored or you feel tired? Yes, we do feel bored. We feel tired. But seeing people coming here, the day they arrive and the day they depart, you really see the difference. And it's very worth it. And in a way, that we don't offer this retreat just for you and we do the service. No, we practice. Because we ask for all kinds of helps, all kinds of hands. So everybody chip in, and so we can share the load together. And so the sisters, they don't have to be in the kitchen all the time, or they don't have to clean all the time, but they have time to go to the sitting. They have time to do the walking. Because that's what we come here for. We don't come here to work. And that's how we call community. Because we contribute our energy. We contribute our practice of mindfulness. That's how we create this pool of energy, of collective energy. And it is very healing and it is very supportive. If each one of us, we don't contribute, there is no such a collective energy. And it is like a resort. You know, when people come here, or I pay for this, I will enjoy my time here. But we designed a retreat from our more than 30, 40 years of experiences so that everyone can contribute and everyone can enjoy. And so the best thing that we can contribute is our practice of energy and our practice of mindfulness. That is the best thing that we can contribute. But usually when the body is very tired, we will find all kinds of excuses not to come. And so we can have a little free time on our own. And you know what? When we are on our own, we are floating. Because there's no people around us to remind us. And so we freely float and we freely roam. And we get so lost. in our thinking or in our feelings. We have some young sister who attended Sư cô Chân Không, Sister Chân Không. And so they don't attend the full regular schedule with the Sangha. And so one day I saw two of them join us for the walk. I was so happy to see them to join us. And I told them, I said, I'm very happy to see you to join us today. And they say, you know what, Sư cô? We also very happy to join the Sangha because we need this energy. So this is a way to kind of recharge ourselves. We just allow ourselves to be in that pool of energy. And very natural, we feel recharged. Some mornings I felt very tired and I slept. And I heard the bell. I woke up and I kind of like, maybe today I'm not going to the sitting, I will sleep. But actually that sleep is not really give me more energy or anything. But it's just a kind of indulgence, you know? It's kind of indulgent. And we know that all kinds of indulgence, it will weaken the body and it cloud the mind. I experience myself. For a few mornings I feel like, oh, I don't want to go to the sitting. And then I start thinking a lot of things. But if I come to the hall and I sit with the Sangha, the concentrated energy of the Sangha help me to be very much aware of myself. And so my mind's become a little bit stronger, that I can overcome my indulgence. To practice is not to win over somebody's or anything, but actually to overcome ourselves, our indulgence, our laziness, our excuses. So very soon we will have lunch. And so we ask everybody to eat lunch in silence until 1 o'clock. After serving ourselves, we will have lunch. Actually, I was informed that today we practice noble silence until after lunch, right? So I felt the energy, I felt the place, the Hamlet is very quiet actually the whole morning. Do you feel that there is the urge you need to talk? Or you feel like you have the need to talk, but then you kind of pause and you look, do I really need to talk now? Or I can wait? Yeah? Do you recognize that? And so the noble silence is something that is wonderful to help us to check our urge. Most of the time, we want to talk because we are afraid that we will forget. Yeah? When we see someone, long time we don't see, and when we see them, we want to talk. Because maybe later we don't see them, or whatever reason. So we talk because we're afraid that we will forget. But when we talk like that, we're not aware that that person may be in doing something. So for example, I was washing my bowls, and somebody would come and say, sister, and I see myself, at that moment, I see myself in the past, I used to be like that. When I need to tell somebody, when I need to communicate with somebody, I would jump in right away because I'm afraid that I will forget. But it may create a kind of disturbance feeling in the other person. And so if I am aware of my washing, I would say, okay, can you wait for me for 10 seconds. I finish this, and we go outside and we talk. And so in many ways, we create that energy of quietness for everybody because we are 200. And so if everyone talk in washing our bowls and plates after each meal, it will be very noisy. Yeah. So, and we forget. I forget sometimes. But I observe somebody washing quietly. It's a reminder for me. And it's really, really nice to wash in silence, especially when it's a hot weather. You know, you feel the coolness of the water, and you feel the cleanliness of the plates and of the bowls. Yeah. But at the same time, you feel your mind is also very calm. And not in a hurry that I finish this, I will have a conversation with her. Yeah, so we live each moment. We train ourselves to be in each moment. That's how this morning we hear the reading. Live deeply each moment. So where that is the moment that we will live deeply? When? If not in the washing line, in serving line. We have plenty of time to live deeply. But do we choose to? Or we forget? Most of the time we forget. And that's how we need the collective energy. Because that collective energy will help us to remember. So if somebody told me, oh, I forget all the time, what happened? What should I do? I say, well, forgetting is very natural. But what happened after you remember, you forget? That is important. Is that self-judgment? Oh, I fell again. Oh, I don't remember. You know, this is kind of feeling right after that. But we want to create this silence, the collective energy, and that silence will help us to hear all kinds of noise in ourselves. If we are at home alone, we won't have this kind of silence to help us to remember. It is silent at home. So that's how we turn on music, news, TV, so that we have voices around us. And so living deeply each moment that comes from when we are in line, when we are eating, when we are washing. And it's a long line of people waiting to wash, and we are talking, and everybody can hear our conversation. And it's not a very deep conversation. If we want to talk properly, we sit down and we can talk. And so we will remind each other if we forget. Yeah? That is only about eating and washing. So for breakfast, we have totally silence because it's continue the practice of noble silence until after breakfast. But for lunch, because our dining hall is very small, so we can serve ourselves in silence, and we can choose a place to sit. And we eat in silence until 1 o'clock when we hear 2 sounds of the bell outside. Then we can have conversation, or we can have more food, or we can go and wash our plates. This week we don't have to shop, we don't have to cook, yeah, to give ourselves that kind of happiness. Like we don't have to cook, but we have food. The sister will cook for us, but with a lot of help from you. That you chop vegetable, you will wash the vegetable. We can also have conversation while we are working, but but not so much about things that not relate to food. We can discuss how we work together, but while doing the work, we can also observe our body movement. Yeah, the speed of work that we do. Each one of us, we have a different way of doing things. It doesn't have to be the same. And so when we are aware of ourselves, we are aware of other people. I find that when we work and we are aware of our body movement, it can avoid all kinds of cutting ourselves or tripping ourselves, because we are many, and so when we work together. So we also try to generate that kind of energy when we work together. And after working, it usually depends on the work of your family. It can be 1 hour of work every day. And then after work, we have plenty of other time for us to bond and to build friendship with other people. And then we can have a cup of tea, we can sit down and really talk. So we learn to do one thing at a time. Not chopping and talking, and then we might chop our finger instead of chopping the carrot because we are talking. The eating meditation is something that is highly enjoyable. The only tip I like to share is that the chewing process. I used to eat very fast, and I still sometimes when there's good food. And so sometimes I sit next to a sister, and she chew her food thoroughly, like 30 times. It's kind of reminds me of slowing down. And so that's how it's very helpful to eat together with the Sangha. Usually our eyes are bigger than our stomach, and so we may get more food than we need. And so we can allow ourselves to have enough food, and if we need more, we can have more. So we don't waste food. Yeah? So eat in silence eat in silence with the Sangha is a really, really time for us to to nourish ourselves. Because outside when we work during the day, we may have half an hour or an hour lunch break. And we never finish 1 hour. We may finish in 10 or 15 minutes. And so we have little time, we do all the things. But here we can have 20 minutes of eating and really allow ourselves time to eat. Our food is very simple. Not a lot of fancy ingredients. It is a very natural base, plant-based diet. And so the more you chew, the sweeter it becomes. So the secret lies in the chewing. And that is also the secret of longevity. Monastic tradition, we have a fixed time of eating every day. And the diet is very simple. But we can live to the old age because of the fixed time of eating, the chewing, the simple diet. If we have a very simple diet, and the digestion is also very simple. If we have a very big meal of 7 to 8 dishes, it will be a heavy meal, and it needs different enzymes to digest. But here we only have three dishes, so simple enough for our digestion. And so when we chew the food thoroughly, we absorb the nutrients, and it will turn into blood, turn into energy to propel ourselves. So eating in meditation, again, is time for ourselves. Not that we finish and then we have to do something else. So we learn to do things properly. I know you are trained professionally, You may have that kind of perfection in doing certain things. How about asking yourself, do I eat my meal properly? Or I am eating my project? Or I'm eating my anger? So this is something that we can train ourselves. And you know, when we have a big retreat or when we travel with Thầy, when we have meal together, he was eating with the whole community, with the monastic. He would sit on the grass. When we have a Vesak Day in Hong Kong many years ago, we have about 500-600 people came. And so there is a very wealthy man. He came and he said, Thầy, I would like to have lunch with you today. And because he's very busy, yeah, he didn't have time. So that day, the only time that he has. And Thầy didn't say anything. At lunchtime, he asked his attendant to bring his lunch to the grass outside in the courtyard. And so he sat down and he ate with everybody, 600 of us. And with his presence and with his eating, the whole place become very, very sacred. And so that man, that very wealthy man, he stayed afar. He didn't join because I guess he didn't feel very comfortable sitting on the grass and eating his lunch. And so he didn't join. And so he took pictures of Thầy eating. Maybe something, he had very maybe deep impression of how Thầy ate his lunch. And he's how he want to keep that memory by taking picture. But eating is a form of meditation. When you eat in like that, it really radiates out the kinds of energy that is very, very tranquil and very, very peaceful. And so hopefully in this retreat, we can also generate that kind of energy when we eat our lunch. Today we eat at home, just ourselves, but tomorrow when we are with all the Hamlets, total we are about 800. As you can really see, we can generate that kind of energy when we eat together. What else do I should talk about? I remember now. I didn't talk about breathing, which is the most important thing. See, forgetting again. See? Actually, I mentioned a little bit about breathing earlier. If you attend our retreat in Plum Village, the main tools that we offer you are the breathing and your footsteps. Yeah? These are the two tools that's available all the time. Now it's up to us to use these tools for our benefit. Right now we are all breathing. Yeah? It is very normal breathing right now. It's very different when we are in stressful situation. Our breathing would not be like this. Right? Right now, we are in the state of resting. Yeah? So our central nervous system have two branches, the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. Right now, the parasympathetic is kicks in and it's working right now. That's how we breathe rhythmically, normally, regularly, effortlessly. But if we are in stressful situation, or we are in a highly excited in the middle of a computer game, our breathing it would not be like this. Yeah? When we are so craving of a piece of chocolate, or when we feel so fatigued in our physical body, the breathing would not be like this. So it depends on the state of mind that our breathing will be very different. But the best kind of breathing is right now, when we are in the state of rest. This is a balance, that we are in the state of balance, that we can breathe normal. Our body is a really wonderful mechanism that it can adjust, adapt to all kinds of situations. But ultimately, it has to go back to the state of balance, which means the state of rest, like right now. And the tools that is most effective to help us to reach this state of balance is some breathing. Like if you have to lift a very heavy object, or we have to work strenuously or hike strenuously for many hours, very normal, you will feel the need of your body to slow down and to go back to normal, because you mobilize all of your energy and forces to keep going. But it cannot stay that long. It has to go back to normal. We experience burnout and stress because for a very long time, we keep pushing ourselves, or we are pushed by work, by family, by responsibility, or whatsoever, but not really allow ourselves to slow down, to balance. And so the breathing is so crucial for our well-being. We all know how to breathe, but that breathing is unconscious breathing. The difference now is that conscious breathing. When we are anxious, or when we are fearful, or when we are so depressed, if we remember to breathe, then we can help ourselves right away. We are the first response to help ourselves. And so if we have a community, then that is really a blessing, because they help us to come back, to remember. But if we are ourselves alone, we have to mobilize what is the best, what is available to us. And the breathing is always available. The only problem is that we don't remember. We forget. How many times that we face very stressful situation, but we forget that we have something that we can rely on, which is our breathing. And so the whole thing about craving, about algorithmic manipulation, it's all about this cycle of contact, feeling, craving, grasping. Because we're not able to build this kind of self-awareness. And so tech company, they will manipulate our time, our energy. You know, we are in control by the invisible forces every day. And it's in the hand of a very few people to dominate the industry. And so what we say to resist this trend of our society or the suffering of our modern time, like we mentioned earlier, fatigue, stress, anxiety. How to resist? Each one of us, we have these tools to resist. which is the mindful breathing. That is always available to us. And when we come together like this, we remind each other. That's how the silence is so crucial. Because in that silence, we hear that we are talking all the time. Because if everybody talk all the time, our voice will be drowned out. We would not hear ourselves. But the silence helps us to hear that we are busy all the time. And so when we recognize that we are busy, then the silent voice, very soft, is telling us that the breathing is happening right now. And if we remember that breathing, we come back right away. We can stop our judgmental mind that I forget again. Forgetting is something very normal. We all forget. But the important thing is when we remember what happened after we forget, that we remember. If you sit in meditation for 30 minutes and you realize that it's running all the time, there's maybe 2 or 3 times that you remember to come back. That's already a big step, that you already recognize it. In the past, you may not even recognize it. So with each morning sitting, the path of coming back become more regular and more often. That's all the difference. And so if we indulge ourselves to sleep a little bit more, to have my own time, then that kind of reinforcement is not being applied. Yeah? Daily meditation is a kind of reinforcement. And the brain needs it in order to form the neural pathway, and it will remember. So if we have the habit of forgetting things, big things, small things, your belonging, begins with your belonging. You see how you progress. Yeah? The breathing is something that you can always go back. And when you are able to breathe normal like this, your mind is very calm. That's how you calm your mind down. So the noble silence will end after breakfast, and someday when we are in our home Hamlet, depend on the announcement of each day at dinner, that we will know. But I really encourage everybody to practice the noble silence. When you practice the noble silence to the point that you enjoy it so much that people disturb your silence, you would gently remind that person that we will talk after breakfast. And you really see your speech change. If we don't have that silence out of our reaction and our habit, we will react. Or we will be swept away, by the environment, by the energy around us. But if we have that silence, and we have that awareness and that mindfulness, you can really see your speech change. Because you are in control. You choose when to talk and how to talk. And so if we can be in control of ourselves, of our speech, and of course it's come from the thinking, right? And that thinking, how do we control our thinking? We don't control our thinking. We just follow our mind. Wherever it goes, we need to be with our mind. Don't let it go alone. Like you see some children, they're running around. If they are smaller, the parents would not leave them alone like that. The parents would be with them all the time because they are afraid that they will get hurt or they will eat something. And so that baby is our mind. You would not leave it alone. And so when we have this kind of awareness and mindfulness, We are very much aware of our speech, and we choose what to say, and how to say it, and when to say it. In the past, if I have something I want to say, but I don't want to make people feel unhappy, I would go around. I would say it in a way that people will say it for me. Do you know what I mean? That means I will put words into all the people's mouth, and they will say it instead of me. But more and more I recognize that pattern and that habit. I say, well, why am I so afraid of saying it directly to that person? First, maybe I don't have a very good relationship with that person. So it doesn't matter what I say, that will not take it. We have to keep that in mind, the first thing. The second thing, when I speak this, out of what intention? That if I am aware of these two elements, and if I feel that I'm not good with that person, my relationship with that person is not that good, then I have to make an effort to build the bridge of communication so I can talk directly to that person and not going around and try to let other people say things what I want to say. And so that is really the practice. It's not that easy and it's not that simple. That everything, will fall into places easy for us. But it's really conscious effort. And as you see, when you find that your speech is kinder, calmer, and you kind of like decide when to say it and how to say it, and you really see how you improve yourself. So we will stop now. Otherwise, I will continue for another 2 hours. I hope I cover everything. If I don't, so dear sisters, in your sharing time, if you find that something that needs to be mentioned, please do so. And now Dharma sharing time. So thank you all for your listening and for your translating.